Hey, everybody, it's me, Jonathan Millard, the voice of the Vale, and welcome again to another big hype podcast with my very special guest, one of the hardest people to get hold of in professional boxing, Mr. Tommy Murphy.
Hello, thanks for having me on.
Mate, absolute pleasure to have you on, and thank you so much for agreeing to come on. It's been a while. We've been trying to get hold of you, get you on the podcast, but it's good that you're finally here because I'm really happy to have you here. So, like we do with on the podcast, we go back to how you got involved in boxing. How did it all begin for you? When did you start? What age? And where were you? What were you doing?
I was never really interested in boxing, but my dad, one of his best pals was an old boxer called John O'Donnell. He was a southpaw from my area. He was quite good. I think he ended up 34-3, if I'm not mistaken. Won the English title, Commonwealth title, and stuff. But my dad took me to watch him from a young age, and then I think I just got into it through him because he was a southpaw, and then I've eventually become a southpaw who's a right-handed southpaw. So it's the same as him. Like, I think just watching him growing up, I ended up just morphing into him. But hopefully, I end up liking him because, like I said, he had a really good career. So it wouldn't be a bad thing.
How old were you when Dad sort of said to you, "Come and meet this guy. He's a boxer. I want you to have a look at this guy. We'll see what you think."
I was about, I'd say 9, maybe a bit less. I think I was going to shows with him, but 9 is when I remember correctly, because I think the first big show was he took me to was him versus John O'Donnell versus Craig Watson at York Hall 2009 for the Commonwealth title, and if I'm not mistaken, Tyson Fury was on the undercard. I think he fought someone called Eric Powell. I think it was an American guy, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But he had hair back then, and he was blowing people away. And I think after that, Dad showed that my mate won the fight, John won the fight, won the Commonwealth title welterweight, and just an after party going around seeing the belt and stuff. And I eventually started to pick it up a little bit. I took it on for a little bit, didn't really like it. I didn't really like getting hit in the face. I'll be honest, as much as people wouldn't admit this story, I was taken to Del Youth Boxing Club, and I still to this day say it was my hardest spar ever at 9 years of age. I got put in with a young person called Caroline DeBars, and she battered the life out of me at 9 years of age. And I think that was when life. I was like, nah, I don't think it's for me. But I went back at like 17, and I was introduced to John's old amateur coach, Mick Delaney, and it just kicked off from there. Started winning, started doing well sparring against some good fighters, and then it just kicked on from there.
So you went back to when you were 17 then? So you were in for a little bit at the beginning of the career, and then left it, came back to it. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And then what was the decision then? Was it to look at doing amateur? Was it to look stay going that way, or was it to turn over pro and try and get into the professional arena?
Well, it was I was doing amateur with Mick. Mick got me a few good fights. I went to Ireland, boxed in Ireland, was unlucky out there, got robbed. Represented London, but then Mick, God bless him, fell ill. And people was telling me he weren't going to come back. He was away from the gym for quite a while. People was going to tell me he wasn't going to come back. But I know from speaking to Mick growing up and that he would never go pro as a coach because he had James DeGale, John O'Donnell, George Groves. These were all his amateur fighters, and he would never take none of them pro. So I knew he would not go pro. So I thought, I don't really want no other amateur coach. So I'm just going to try my luck at going pro, which sometimes I regret, sometimes I don't regret, because how hard it is selling tickets, and if you ain't really got the big backing, it is hard work. So, but I'm here now, I'm still enjoying it, so I'm just gonna keep riding my luck.
We'll come to that in a second. So, who's your main coach now at the moment?
My main coach now is Sam Mullins from Churchill's Boxing Gym.
Okay, a lot of people, boxing fans, will know already. Churchill Boxing. Again, I know them from my experiences being along the shows and stuff as well. So a strong corner, a strong team as well behind you as well. That was really pushing you to go into this career that you're carving out for yourself right now and making a name for yourself in the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say it is difficult. I've spoken to a few others on the podcast as well about how professional boxing is as opposed to amateur boxing. Obviously, the differences in, as you say, their ticket sales. If you've not got a big back in, it's perhaps potentially harder to get the fights. I don't know. I don't work that side of the ring, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't really see that. So perhaps if you'd be kind as to give us a little bit of insight into that.
It's unless you've got backing by obviously the big three or four, should I say, like Matchroom, Wasserman, all them sort of guys, Warren, all them sort of guys, then you got to sell tickets, which some people sell tickets, some people don't. And it's not that they're not popular people. Some people just like the tickets are sometimes they're 40, sometimes they're 60, sometimes they're 50. Do you know what I mean? Some people can't afford it, don't really want to afford it, don't really want to spend money on that kind of stuff. So it just depends on a lot of things. Thankfully, I've done well most of my career, but it's the same with, I probably won't be the only one to say this. You could start off your career selling 300 tickets like me, but it slowly drops. And
Drops off, yeah.
yeah, and it might pick up again once you start coming out of these like journeyman fights, which I aim to do in my next couple fights.
Okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much the
So
background of
do
it.
you have a sponsor or someone in the background? Because I know I've spoken to a few boxers. It surprised me actually, because I know I know Gavin Gwynn, and even though he was British champion, he was still working
Yeah.
in the building trade, in the industry that he was working in. Are you lucky to have someone like those sponsoring you to sort of train and focus on the boxing?
Yeah, I've got a few sponsors that help me out. I've got
Okay.
RJ&G Lighting. He helps me out massively. He's a close friend. I've got luckily a sponsor, Loftus Engineering, who they actually sponsor QPR, which I support. So it's quite a big sponsor for me, and they've come along and they've really helped me out. Like without them, I kind of probably wouldn't be fighting, but they've made it so much easier for me to train for this fight and stop worrying about financial worries and just other things, just doing a lot of stuff for me. So a big shout out to them.
Because camps aren't cheap, are they? They run it,
No.
and feeding yourself and keeping your nutrition levels high, and
Yeah.
or eating right and getting in the gym and training at the same time. Yeah. Well, thank the sponsors. Then in that case, then you've got some good guys behind you there looking
Yeah.
to that, they've been obviously behind you all the way from day one in this
Yeah.
professional
There's
game.
there's there's plenty more. Pig and Whistle Pub, State of Mind Fitness. Like they've been along the whole way, but like they'll always be on my shorts because the things these guys have done for me, especially being a small fighter, they didn't have to do it. They didn't have to go out of their way, but out of their own back to do it for me. So I appreciate it massively.
So, going back a little bit to the amateur days, did you do any box cups? Did you do any championships? I can't. I know
Um,
you've mentioned it before, but
yeah, my amateur gym was in the Alliance, which is I know there's England Boxing, Alliance Boxing. For my first couple of fights, I think my first two fights was in the Alliance, and then my third fight was in the Alliance, but it was in like their version of the ABAs, and I
okay,
lost on a split decision to the man who eventually went on to win it. And it was one of them fights; it could have went either way. And then I went into England Boxing, won majority of my fights, went over to the Irish Box Cup, Celtic Box Cup, and made it to the semi-finals, which another fight where maybe the only person in the room that, well, I wouldn't even think the other boy 41. Do you know what I mean? So it's just one of them things. Amateur boxing, I'm sure you'll hear it from other fighters that not all decisions go their way.
no, I think you only got to watch the Olympics recently and
Yeah,
see
that says enough.
some of the decisions there.
But
But anyway,
I boxed
hard
some
job.
good kids. I come back. I represented London for London against Dublin, and beat
Cool.
the kid that I beat the kid again. Like, again, I say again, it's 1-1 currently on the paper, but should be 2-0. And then my last amateur fight, I think I beat a kid that went to the World Championships and done quite well for Greece. A really good kid and a really good pro now at the moment as well. I can't pronounce his name. I would pronounce his name and give him credit, but I can't, so I don't want to slaughter his name.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, it's fine. No, thank you very much for sharing that with us as well. I mean, it's difficult, obviously, knowing what not knowing how it would have or could have gone, as you say. Some of these decisions. Well, they're there. It's a tough job. Look, I've been there and done that and got t-shirts and stuff. So I know it can be. It's quite difficult to. And it's down to preference, perhaps, in what some of the judges like and what they prefer.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's in the past. Now in the future, obviously we're now we're looking at your pro career. You turned over pro in July 2 years ago, in 2022, in the iconic home of boxing for Britain, the York Hall, and pretty much had every fight so far there, bar one. And obviously looking to return there again as well. Just talk us through your debut. How were you feeling when you stepped through the curtain and onto the ramp to do that first one? I wasn't there, unfortunately.
It was a good experience. A night I'll never forget. Again, I've sold close to near on 300 tickets that night, so the place was pretty much all for me. Especially on your debut, like I was supposed to be last fight, but then because I had a gym mate on the card at the time, I had to be a couple fights before. So it was, waiting around all night on your debut weren't the best feeling. But once I was out there and everyone singing my name, it was sort of just like, right, I can't not perform now. I'm here. Everyone's come out to see me, like see what I'm about. So yeah, I've done the job. I boxed well, and that was it really.
Unanimous point decision, 40-37.
Yeah.
Your way, obviously, against Lee Devine. Again, well-known boxer and a bit of a journeyman, like you said. Talking journeyman, your next one then was up against Lee Hallett, who a lot of the fans will know. He's a good boxer and he's an educating boxer as well, and he brings quite a lot to the table. Did you learn anything when you boxed Lee?
Lee, I will always tell this story. Lee's one of them fighters where you can go in and think he's easy, where his record is where it is. But if you do that, he's either going to humble you or teach you a lesson, sort of thing. And I went in there, obviously knowing I'm a good boxer, capable of my abilities, but Jesus, he could have took it easy on me. Do you know what I mean? He caught me some good shots that night. And just sort of made me think, wow. Where I really didn't break a sweat in my debut, it was sort of like, all right, it's not as easy as it thinks. Like, you can't underestimate people, especially with records like that. He caught me some shots, and one point I thought there was fireworks going off. Then he caught me a shot in the second round of that fight. But again, it was one of them. I had to learn how to adapt and then go stick to my boxing, because as he said to me, he said I was one of the best boxers he's boxed, like technically wise. I just
compliments,
well, especially against someone who's had close to 100 fights, and like saying that out of all the fighters he's boxed, it's a real big confidence boost. But like he said, and like I know from watching it back, I was still a boy, like physically not strong, and he's a fully fledged man. So the strength and the toughness was a real character difference. And so he gave me some words of advice, and I've took it on board since. And when I see him get wins or should be getting wins, it just makes me think, right, so I weren't the only one that found him harder than he looks.
Yeah, good. Obviously Lee as boxing, those who follow boxing will know, again, exactly as you say, he can humble people if he wants to. He's got the skills, certainly has, but obviously, like you say, you're learning from that. He's a great guy
also.
Oh, yeah, outside the ring, he's great.
Really nice
always happy to say hello, always smiling whenever he's around. And now he's in the corner of a lot of guys as well. So, obviously, progressed quite quickly through the first couple of months of the year. In October, then 2022, you were up against a debuting Logan Palin. Logan comes with experience from the kickboxing background, but unfortunately didn't come up against you. How did that fight? What was that fight like for you? Having someone again coming in as a new, a debutant in that capacity, and maybe a bit of an unknown quantity.
Yeah, that one was weird because I was supposed to fight Michael Mooney, who's another great journeyman, and I think something happened with him a day before, and I got a call saying Logan stepping in, and
Hmm.
then the phone call was sort of I couldn't find no one, but we found this guy. He's not a journeyman, but we like so it was sort of like all right, so it might be a bit harder
Yeah,
than thought of. Watched a few clips of him, and I had people, like very experienced people in the game, say to me, maybe it's a bit much for you in your
could be
third
the
fight.
banana skin. Could be the banana skin for you,
Yeah,
sort of thing. Yeah. Okay.
but lucky at the time, I had an experienced cornerman in Alec Wilkie, who was my first coach, and yeah, he said to me, "Listen, I wouldn't put you in the fight if I didn't think you'd win it," and I thank him for that. I went in there, and I boxed the best I've ever boxed. I think because it was a live opponent, and he was coming to do a job, and he was swinging for the fences, and he was really pushing it to me. I think that's when I boxed my best, and he spoke to me after, and he said, "Listen, I did come down to win because I thought it would have catapulted me into what he
Mm.
wanted to do." But I think after that, he sort of decided to go down the journeyman route, and he still, whether he with his record now, he still was giving people hard fights. And Logan will always be a good friend of mine. We're really good friends. We talk nearly every second, third day. And yeah, so I think we punched the life out of each other, and now we're really good
I,
friends.
I'll agree with you on that. It was an absolutely great fight actually between the two of you, and like you said, if he came to win, I mean, I didn't speak to him after the fight, but I did speak to him before, and I've spoken to him since, but we've not talked about this. But if he says he came to win, like you say, you could have catapulted him up to into other things quite quickly.
Yeah,
Again, win against yourself, but again, I'm glad that you afterwards. This is the best thing about boxing, I guess, is that you're still you're friends afterwards as well. Yes, you get in the ring, you do a
yeah,
business, and there's a fight to be won, and then you
yeah.
afterwards, like you're saying, you're speaking to him and you have a conversation. That's fantastic as well.
I was really nervous going into that fight. Like my dad, I've spoken about things before, like having autism and stuff like that, and anxiety. And when I woke up the day they rang me and said, "Listen, this
Mm-hmm.
fight," da, 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 and people were saying to me, "Oh, it's a bit of a banana skin." My dad could just sense it in me that maybe I was thinking a bit too much about it and going into it a bit too much, and it was like messing with my head. And then yeah, I was very nervous, but then my dad just said to me, "Listen, it is where it is. Go out there and do what you can." And then in
Yeah,
my head, I was sort of like, "Listen, if I'm losing at this level, then it ain't for me anyway." Like, and then when people were saying, "Oh, I don't think it's for you," my honest reaction was with FM, like, I'm gonna go in there now and make it
put
look
the proof.
easy. I'm gonna go make it look easy just to prove
Mm-hmm.
you wrong. And then people that was saying that to me was not at the after party because they didn't want to face me and admit that I proved them wrong. So yeah, it was a good feeling.
Point made. Then point made in that capacity then as well, like you're saying.
But that's no
Going
disrespect to Logan
no
in
no no.
saying it was easy because it was a hard fight. And like I said, he's a good friend of mine now, and I'm real. Him and his son, like they're really good friends of mine. And we're planning to meet up and go out because he lives in Birmingham and I live in London. So
Yeah.
we are planning to do something.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, I'm sure that'll come together as well.
Yeah,
So that was that was the third fight. The fourth fight we've had again back your call. Actually, get a knockdown in the third,
yeah,
and see that you can see that. I mean, I've watched that fight back because I wasn't at that fight, but yeah, it was definitely progression. I think was being made, if I can say that.
yeah.
How did you find that? How did you find that fourth fight against Brandon?
Yeah, again,
Brandon.
Casey Bradnam, another good friend of mine, like through boxing. Obviously, most of the people I've fought now, other than my last fight and my first fight, I say Lee Hallett, Logan Palin, and Casey are actually good friends of mine now through
Yeah.
fighting and trying to give me black eyes. Yeah, Casey was another good fight because he knows what he's doing. He was supposed to be a prospect, and then things happened in life, and then he went on the road. He wanted to make money for his family. He's a very good man in that sense. And yeah, he was another fight. He was doing what journeymen do, but then he said to me after, like, I don't know if you would mind me saying this, but he said to me after that whole first round, he found it hard to hit me. So it sort of gave him the ump, and then he wanted to hit me. And yeah, he caught me. He caught me a few good shots, and again, it was one of them where I just come from fighting Logan. I was on top of the world, sort of thing. Casey caught me with a few big shots that dazed me. Whoa, dazed me and sort of woke me up and made me think, right, I need to get back to what I'm doing and stop thinking on top of the world. And it's one of them things. Everyone's going to get caught with shots. Sometimes you'll make it look easy. Sometimes you won't make it look easy. I still won the fight quite comfortably, but again, it was just taking my eye off the ball and still learning, getting experience. Because listen, I'm 5-0, but I still don't think I've reached 30%. I'm only on 30%. I think I still think I've got plenty more to unlock. Like, I think once I'm at my full form, it's going to be a whole different thing. I just, with injuries and problems with licensing and just having a year out the ring since my last fight, I've been stop start. So I really need a good run of form now to just prove my worth.
We'll come to that in a second. Let's just finish up on the
Yeah.
the 5-0. Obviously, Gurrit Singh.
Yeah.
Interesting place, an interesting venue as well. The Peacock Gym.
Yeah.
In Canning Town. I've done a few shows there. I wasn't at this one again, unfortunately, but it's a really I want to say gritty atmosphere that you get. It's just you and it's almost like an amateur boxing setup in the fact that you are stones throw, not even that, arm's length away from the crowd. If they wanted to, they could step over and get in the ring almost with you as well. But it's in the hangar kind of thing. And it again, how did that make that fight feel? Did it feel different to the York Hall ones? Because again, the crowd sometimes drifts in and out as well with those fights, because there's only about a handful of fights we were doing. Great concept as well for the shows. I like the concept of it. But yeah, it's only a smaller capacity. How did that feel for you when you fought it, as opposed to the York Hall?
It weren't a big difference. Like, once you start doing that, say it, once everyone gets past 3 or 4 fights, it starts feeling a bit natural. Just another day at the office. I like the concept. I like the fact it was all like York Hall. Everything's on top of you. You can't have a bad seat in York Hall. Like, ringside tickets and normal tickets, you could tap the ringside person on the shoulder and be like, oh. So it was, I think, once I'm in there, sort of, I just go black and just focus on what's in front of me, which was a tough Indian man. He was just very tough, very funny, just used to, knows what he's doing. You get caught with a shot, he tried to goat you into things. Another pretty easy night in the office. Didn't really get touched much, but again, I was just trying to learn. I'm not too fussed about knockouts. I was just trying to learn because, like I said, I didn't have a big amateur career, so really I'm just learning on the job. Like I said, I'm still 30% in.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, like you said, they're 30% in. You said and alluded to some issues there with the board and some license issue. That's just obviously the reason why we haven't seen you in the ring for over a year now, because that was back in July 2023. Now in September, nearly of 2024, and we're going to see the first outing in just over a 12-month. But you've been keeping busy, obviously, doing that situation, and you know, obviously, I don't want you to talk about that if you don't feel comfortable to. But do you want to elaborate on what's been going on in that year break?
Yeah, I was supposed to fight in April on a top tier show, which would have been good in Essex, and then just something from my past that got misunderstood come up, and it's all sorted now. It just took a couple months longer. It took a couple months longer than it should have, and just people not understanding the standing. That's fine.
So we're looking forward. Yeah, looking forward now though. Obviously, that's gone. That's passed. We're back in the place we need to be. We're back into the contract. We're back with TM14 as well for the show that's coming up as well. Have you been named? You haven't been named an opponent yet with this one, have you?
No, not yet. I was speaking to my good friend John at TM14 yesterday, and he said I should know in the next couple of days. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
It's the
staying
wind.
in as well, by the way.
Yeah, it's the wind. I didn't even notice until I looked at my. Yeah, John said maybe in the next couple of days I should know something, but like I said, I trust them guys, so it don't really bother me who the opponent is. I just want to get back in and get some momentum going.
I'm glad, because you said earlier in one of your comments that you actually want to make more now of these next couple of fights. Being 5-0, we've got established now. We know what we're doing, kind of thing in the ring. And like I say, 30% of what you feel where you are at the moment. It would be good to have a few more 50-50s. And I know that TM like to do like to do TM104, like to do the 50-50 fights with people if
Yeah,
they possibly can. It makes for better shows, I feel, and obviously, keeps the people interested. As you said, people can dip off if they're seeing, you out against the same guy that they saw fight 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. No disrespect to them at all in that capacity,
yeah,
but understandably, you want to progress yourself and obviously test yourself, which is kind of what I'm trying to get to.
yeah.
So what would you like to do in this next part of your career, the next 5 fights or so? Where would you like to be at the end of those next 5 fights, like this, like they say in jobs interviews? Where would you be in the next 5 years, kind of thing? Where would you want to be in the next
Um,
5 fights?
well, my license for the year runs out in February, so really I want to try get maybe two this year, maybe three if I'm
Okay,
lucky. I've spoke to John about possibilities after this, and hopefully I don't want to speak on it because they've not announced it yet, but there
mm-hmm.
could be something really good for me in December or maybe before that, where these guys are doing
Great.
great things now. They've mixed with Nielsen and they've started doing good things with Nielsen drill shows, and they're doing things in America and Thailand and all these other places, which hopefully I could get on one of them. Um, yeah, there's been talks about something, so obviously I need to perform next month before I get ahead
Uh-huh.
of myself.
Well,
And
there's links
yeah,
obviously with Dennis Hobson there and Fight Zones as well, which again,
yeah,
when you see the fights being streamed live on Fight Zone, and again, it gives more opportunities. Like you're saying now, they've got the transatlantic challenge coming up with
yeah,
teams being led by Roy Jones Jr. And our very own Spencer Oliver.
yeah,
So again, there are great things coming forward, and it would be great to see some of your caliber on something like that going forward. So
yeah,
obviously, I don't want to jinx anything or say anything about that, but
yeah.
that's fine. But obviously, looking beyond these next couple of fights, and obviously what opportunities may be, where would you like to get? Where would you like to take the boxing career? Where would you like to get? Is there a championship belt that you'd like to get around your waist shortly?
Um, yeah, I'd like the Southern Area title, like the old traditional route that most people go down. I've always wanted the British title, one of the best looking belts in sport.
You're not on
Um,
your own there. You're not on your own.
Yeah, but it's a lot harder, easier said than done, isn't it? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that's in the line or trying to get in the line. So I just need to wait for opportunities, really. And the only way you're going to get opportunities is if you look good, sell yourself, and people take an interest in you. So, like I said, if I have to wait and maybe fight a couple more genuine fights, obviously I don't really want to. I want to step up and hopefully,
Mm.
like I said, Spencer's obviously an idol to most people, and he's a good friend of mine through the boxing scene. So if Spencer, if you're seeing this and you need someone to represent in case something goes wrong, then feel free to call me. I wouldn't mind, but I'm in boxing to fight. I'm not in here to look good. Like, I don't care if someone,
Mm.
oh, what do you do? I'm a 10-0 boxer. Oh, you fought anyone good? Do you know what I mean? I'd rather say,
Yeah.
yeah, whether you win or lose. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to lose, but I want to I want to make memories. Whether I'm fighting in another country, not many people get to do that, and I would like to do that. So, any opportunities, anyone needs someone that's willing to fight. Obviously, it's got to make sense in both parties. Obviously, I don't want to fight for peanuts, but
Yeah,
um,
it is a part of the business. At the end of the day, it is a business,
yeah,
and understandably, we've got to make sure that the beans are being counted and everyone is paid at the end of the day. So
yeah,
I
exactly
get
that.
that. I get that. Yeah, well, hopefully Spencer will watch this. I'm going to send it to him
Yeah,
anyway, so he's going to get it whether he likes it or not. But
hence I call me, brother.
excellent. Before we wrap up, then obviously I'll just what I tend to do with a lot with everyone else on the show is just go through some very short, rapid response questions,
Yeah.
just to sort of bring it to a sort of close. But before I do that, obviously, how do people get behind you? How do they follow you? What's you on the socials? Give us the show's socials.
I'm T Murphy 1511 on pretty much everything, and yeah, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok, all that stuff. Try to market myself because that's what you need. So yeah,
You
if
do.
anyone would like to get
And I'll make sure that the
behind me,
links are in the description as well of the podcast as well, so you can
yeah,
go down and click on those as well
yeah,
for Tommy. So, last but not least, then Tommy, these last couple of questions just to give you an idea. Just to sort of give you an idea. The first one is Southpaw or Orthodox. I kind of think I know the answer already.
Southpaw.
Body shots or head shots?
Body shots
Training alone or with a partner?
with a partner.
Early bird or night owl?
Not bothered. Either or.
Either or. Heavy bag or speed bag?
Heavy bag.
Okay. Underdog or as the favourite?
Underdog.
Boxing gym or outside training?
Boxing gym.
Short and powerful punches or the long and technical punches?
Long and technical.
Fight dirty or clean?
Depends on how they want to fight.
I like it. Loud crowd or the quiet atmosphere?
Loud.
Quick knockout or strategic win?
However it comes, you might walk onto one.
True. AJ or Fury? Last one.
Fury.
There you go. Let's leave it there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again for listening, and thank you very much for joining me again. Tommy Murphy, let's give it one. Thank you very much for joining us, Tommy.
John. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you again back in the ring, and looking forward to seeing where the career progresses as well. But until then, take care of yourself.
I appreciate it, mate.